everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today's video is one I was going to say I'm excited about, but that seems like an overstatement because I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm going to New York City today. I need to pick up some trim for Anastasia, which is a project that my patrons voted on, because I really can't move forward with it at this point. And I'm also on the lookout for some trim for my Halloween projects this year. But other than that, I don't have a list. I don't have any specific projects in mind. So you might be wondering why I'm bothering to go in then, and the main reason is because I think one of my favorite stores is closing. They had a lot of signs up that they were going out of business last time I was there, and when I talked to them, they said they had 6 months left. So it's really sad what's happening to the garment district. Rent prices are going up and people are just being forced out even though they've been there for so many years. It's really tragic, but the garment district is rebuilding. It's just rebuilding kind of on different streets that are a little bit more affordable. So that's the situation there, and as sad as it is, I'm hoping to take advantage of the fact that they're closing, maybe get some really good deals on fabric if they're open to it. So I'm going to bring in a suitcase and a bag and we'll just see what I find. And before I go, I just want to show you my outfit because I think it's cute. I'm wearing a shirt from Forever 21 and shorts from Everlane, and then I have socks on from Princess Highway. Just because I like wearing funky socks, they make me smile. I'm planning on wearing these shoes, which are the most expensive shoes I own, and they feel a little small for me, which is tragic. So I think I'm going through trial by fire today. I'm wearing them into New York City, and hopefully that will stretch them out, and hopefully my feet won't be absolutely destroyed afterwards, but we'll see. Oh my god, I need it. It is so pretty. Please let them have a lot of that. This would be perfect for a Sissy-inspired ball gown. Like, perfect. Then up here they've got really vibrant silks. I already bought some silk today, but they're beautiful. Kind of interested in a metallic netting. Like one of these, I think would be cool for something fantasy-inspired. And I do love that color. I really love this color. It's like a misty tone. It'd be really pretty with some lace that I may have just purchased. This is the fabric I used for my Tudor dress way back when. The one that has like a weird face print in it. OG fans will know what I mean. I also discovered that they have the star fabric in black too, so I hope this isn't too expensive because I really want to buy copious quantities of it. I'm also super digging this pink one back here, though I don't know what I would do with it. I think the texture of this is really cool. It's like a suiting but metallic, so I'm probably going to get some of that. They have it in gold too, which is also tempting. I'm also crazy about these neon fabrics. I've worked with the green one before, but I'd love to try out that pink one. It looks so fun. They have some really vintagey looking polyester prints too. I just don't really like working with polyester, but these would be perfect if you did. Like the polka dots, like those yellow and blue scallops. Hello everyone! So I have no idea what video this is going to be part of or whether it will be a standalone video, but I'm thinking that I will just finish showing you the little bits and pieces of footage that I filmed in New York City. I know I didn't end up filming very much, and now I'm going to share with you all of the fabric purchases I made, which are very much. I bought a lot of stuff. And part of the reason I didn't film very much is because I filled up my bag and suitcase that I brought in after 3 stores, and those stores were all very heavily populated with employees, so I felt kind of awkward just filming and talking to myself, even if they are okay with me doing it. Also, if you hear little pitter-patters, it's probably Mrs. Elsa, who is my mom's dog and incredibly dependent on attention, and having me sitting here and not petting her is just absolutely torturous. So she's probably going to be wandering around. Also, I feel the need to mention that I am very made up right now. That's because I'm about to photograph the second project for my Barbie series, which is Orange Blossom Barbie. So I've got yellow eyeshadow and coral blush and lots of it, and I realize it's kind of striking, so I just wanted to mention that before anyone points it out. And now let's just jump into all of the things that I bought, because as I said, there's a lot. And I'm actually surprised by the quantity of what I purchased, given the fact that the store I thought was going out of business was not in fact going out of business. They just put those signs up to bring in more customers, which is great for them and everything, but I'm slightly bitter about the fact that the employee I asked about it lied to me and said they were closing in 6 months. I talked to the owner while I was there, and it turns out that they're doing really well and that they aren't closing down, which is fantastic news for them and for me. But it would have been nice to know that, because I probably wouldn't have made a special trip in just to visit them. But I ended up being glad that I went in because I discovered another store, which is actually relocated from 39th Street onto 38th, and it's called Chic Fabric, and it used to be on 39th Street, and it was one of my favorite discount fabric places. So I was really happy to rediscover them, and I ended up getting, I think, more items from them than the shop I originally went in to visit. And Elsa, oh my god, you were so distracting. So that was a little situation, and that was a really long ramble, and now let's get into the actual fabric that I ended up purchasing. The first fabric is right on top here, and it is a weird organza mesh feeling material. I think it's actually a stiff nylon mesh, and then it has these glitter stars that are stamped on it. It is not woven into the fabric with metallic threads the way you get with a jacquard or brocade fabric. That means that it's much more affordable than those fabrics, and it's actually surprisingly high quality. The glitter doesn't come off all over your hands when you rub it, which some of the cheaper fabrics will do. And I really like the weight of it. It has a lot of volume on its own, and I could just see this turned into like a 3-tiered ball gown with a strapless bodice with a crumb catcher neckline, and I just had a vision for this fabric. I liked it so much, and I really liked the dark color of it with the silver stars against it. I ended up purchasing 20 yards of this fabric, so I'm definitely going to have enough to turn it into some big, wonderful, ridiculous ball gown. And I actually bought it in another color first. This fabric is not bolted because it stinks. Like, I cannot put into words how bad it smells. It smells like tires and feet and mold. I'm really just offended by the smell just holding it here. So I didn't want to bolt it up or fold it really nicely and trap that smell inside of it. So I'm going to have to wait until sunny day and then spread this out on our deck or something to try and get rid of some of the stink. But it is white, and then it has gold stars on it. So it's not quite as striking as the other one, but it has a really pretty sheen to it. And this reminded me a lot of the gown that Sissy wore in her royal portrait. It's called the Star Dress, I think, and if you haven't seen it, I will try and put a photo of it on screen or link in the description box. It's a beautiful dress, and that's what that fabric made me think of. I'd actually really like to do a reproduction of that dress someday. I've kind of been hoarding fabrics that remind me of it a little bit, so I've got 10 or 12 yards of a netting with gold dots on it already, and I thought maybe I could combine that with this fabric to do something inspired by it, though maybe not natural reproduction, because her original dress was entirely done with sequins instead of glitter. But I still thought that fabric was really lovely, and it was cheap enough that I could get 15 yards without breaking the bank, so that's how much I got of it. My number of dogs appears to have multiplied, and now I have 2 puppies. So other than the clothing sale, I also went in to get trims for Anastasia, specifically Historically Accurate Anastasia, which is a project that my patrons voted on that I've been working on in the background and filming the entire process of. So I just picked up 10 yards of this iron-on gold trim, and hopefully this will be higher quality than the gold trim I ordered online, which did not match the project and also did not really stay stuck to the fabric. While I was there, I also got trim for my Halloween projects this year. I'm planning on doing 2, 3-ish of them. I have one that's like a proper Halloween costume, and then I have 2 others which are more of my historical Halloween / autumn inspired projects. And one of them is black and white, and one of them is orange and black. So I thought this trim would serve nicely for the black and white one, and it is a GIMP trim, but it's a more interesting weave than the traditional GIMP, which is like a centimeter wide and relatively densely packed. This has almost a zigzag kind of scallop pattern to it, and then it's got the more traditional braiding in the middle. And I just thought this was really nice. It would look really pretty at the top of ruffles, or to cover ruching, or to trim cuffs, or almost to use like a souttage trim and have around buttonholes or something. So since I don't have the design ironed out just yet, I thought this was a good, like, inoffensive, versatile trim to pick up for that project. It was also really pretty affordable. I think it was $1.50 a yard, as long as I bought the whole bolt, and it's a 36-yard bolt. So $50 to trim a very large, elaborate dress is actually pretty good. So then I bought 2 other GIMPs. This one is also for a Halloween project. This one is a thinner, definitely more common weave, but still has more going on than the traditional GIMP. And it's made out of threads that have almost a sheen to them, which is really pretty. And again, I just thought this would be really nice for trimming the neckline of a dress since it's quite narrow, or to cover up machine gathering if I want to cheat and gather ruffles down that way. So I got 6 or 7 yards of that. And then I ended up getting 12 yards of this one. And this actually perfectly matches a silk file that I'm currently working with. It's a very bright but very true non-orangey red, and this so happened to be the exact tone of it. It's also got a very similar sheen to that fabric where it's slightly shiny but not blatantly shiny. It's just got a really subtle, nice sheen to the threads. So I thought this was perfect for that project, and though I hadn't planned on having any trim on that project, it's not so far along that I can't add trim. So I think I'm going to make some cordage out of a striped silk broadcloth, then have that weaving in and out of the chain link pattern of this trim. So I'm really excited about that, and I think this was a really good find. And again, these were really pretty affordable. They were around $1 or $2 a yard, so not too bad. Next up, I have some more normally fabrics. So this was from the cotton selection of Hamad's fabrics, and I thought this looked so 1930s/40s-ish. I love the pale pink background, and then it's got these polka dots, but they're almost like leopard spots. They're not perfect circles, which I really like. And then it's got a zigzag kind of floral bow pattern going on. I just really like it. It's one of those patterns I think looks quite cool and retro from a distance, but then looks quite nice and delicate up close. So I thought this would be really fun for a 1950s or 1940s inspired dress, and I purchased 6 yards of it, and it was $4 a yard. These two guys were $5 a yard, and they're cotton sateens, and this one is much lighter and much more prone to wrinkling, as you can probably tell by the fact that it's already wrinkled. It's in a bright corally color, and I bought this to use as trim for a pair of pajamas inspired by the ones that Anastasia wears in the film Anastasia. In addition to making a Russian court dress that is based off of the one worn in that movie, I'm also making a pair of pajamas based off of one that is worn in that movie. And this project is going to be exclusive to Patreon. I actually originally purchased a silk charmeuse for this project, but it was not ironing correctly and it was not lying correctly, and it just ended up looking really inexpensive and really poorly made, even though I was doing everything right when it came to construction. So I decided that I would remake them out of cotton sateen. So I got the lighter coral for trim, and then I purchased this much brighter pink, which I'm going to use for the rest of the pajamas. And I purchased 3 yards for both of them since I didn't have a reference photo on hand and I couldn't remember the exact color for pajamas, but I think this is definitely a more accurate tone, and then this will work really nicely for the trims. And let's just stick to the pink theme. So this fabric was not on my list, but I fell in love with it. It's a brocade, and it's got metallic threads woven into the main portion to give it a really pretty sheen, and then it obviously has hot pink polka dots woven throughout it. And if you flip it over, then the background is pink and you have these sparkly white polka dots. And I purchased 5 yards of this, and I bought this to make a Barbie inspired dress. So not based on an existing design of Barbie, but based on a design I would like to see Barbie in that is inspired by Barbie as a whole. Because that's just what this fabric reminded me of. It was so pink and so girly and so Barbie-esque, and I thought it might be fun to show you my take on a Barbie inspired design instead of just making designs inspired by ones that already exist. Speaking of pink, so the next fabric I purchased was from Chic Fabric on 38th Street, and it's a very large floral-ish sort of cotton fabric, and it's a thick cotton fabric that doesn't have any stretch to it. And I thought this would be perfect for a pair of jumps that I might be contracted to make for a pattern company in the future, because you never know what might happen. So I thought it'd be really good for those. It also really reminds me of fabrics that were used in the late 18th century, so 1790s-ish / early Regency. So I thought I might be able to do something fun inspired by that as well. And it's 60 inches wide, and I only purchased 5 yards of it. In hindsight, I wish I had purchased 6 yards of it, but I think 5 yards will be enough to do what I want to do out of it. Now I just have to find a coordinating fabric that I could use for a skirt if I did end up making a bodice / pair of jumps out of this. I might look on Silk Marin for that, because I think a silk taffeta would be really nice. Also, I really like the background color of this is a creamy tone instead of being a stark white, because I think that makes it look a little bit more old-fashioned than if it was a bright white background with the pink. That might cheapen it a little bit. So I just really like this fabric. There were a ton of bolts of cottons, and this is the one that happened to stand out to me. Unfortunately, though they had many fabrics, they did not have the fabric of pigeons wearing work uniforms, which is my white whale of the garment district. I saw it once, I didn't buy it, I've regretted it and searched for it ever since. Anyway, let's move on to another pink fabric. Look at how pink it is. Have you ever seen something more pink in your entire life? I don't think so. So this is a bright neon fuchsia pink. It's actually showing up much brighter on the camera than it is in person. Though it's equally bright in person, it's definitely grounded in a purplishy tone instead of just being a hot, hot pink. However, it is very vibrant and wonderful, and I purchased 10 yards of it with plans to make a dress to go over top of my elliptical hoop skirt. Just something simple, no fuss around the hem, no trimming of any sort, just a simple dress that fits over my elliptical hoop skirt and a matching long sleeve bodice. Want to do something like that for a while, and I just feel like this is the fabric to do it with. And it was $10 a yard, which is very affordable for silk taffeta. So really, really pleased to find that. Next up is a fabric that matches it pretty much perfectly. How dreamy do those look together? But this one is a silk shantung. It's 60 inches wide, and I saw this and instantly thought of the most delightful 1830s dress with huge sleeves and a huge skirt and just a fitted pleated Bertha neckline bodice. I don't know, it's just one of those fabrics that inspired this vision within me, which meant I had to buy it. So I ended up getting all that they had, which unfortunately was only 5.5 yards. So I'm not sure if I could actually turn this into my fantasy 1830s gown, though it is quite wide. So if I make the skirt a little bit narrower than I originally wanted to, I might be able to pull it off. So stay tuned for that, because I do want to make a video about an 1830s dress at some point, and there's no reason that it couldn't be this one. The silk taffeta was from Pomads Fabric, and then the checked fabric was from Chic Fabrics. And these next two fabrics are from Chic Fabric as well. So another fabric that carries on the trio of matching materials is this purple silk shantung. And I bought this because I want to do a dress inspired by pansies. For a while now I've been wearing a pansy ring, as you might be able to see if my camera focuses on it. And it's just tiny and dainty, and I love it a lot. And pansies were actually really pretty common in Victorian jewelry. You would have enamel pansy earrings or rings or brooches, and I just think they're so lovely, and I really like the shape of them and how they incorporate yellow and black and purple and white. I just really, really love them as flowers, and I'd love to make a dress kind of inspired by one, sort of how I did with sunflowers a couple years ago. This color was just so spot on for that idea that I decided to get 8 yards of it. I'm not sure what era this would be inspired by. I don't have an exact plan in mind for it or design yet. I just really liked the color of this fabric, and I found it really inspiring. The other thing that made me think of this idea is this lace. So this is a border print mesh lace, and it is different on both edges. So the top edge just has a normal plain selvage, and then it's got these sequin appliques running throughout it. And then the other edge of the fabric is very densely sequined. So it's got this beautiful embroidered floral pattern on it that is really heavily embellished with sequins. I love the sheen of this fabric. I think it looks very expensive. It was $15 a yard, which is pricey for fabric that isn't silk and isn't a beaded lace, but I thought it was well worth it because it looks like it's worth so much more than that. And I thought this kind of had the floral shapes of pansies going on too, and that I might actually be able to line this with purple and create some of that gradient effect in a really elegant way. So that is why I purchased these two fabrics. I don't know if I'm actually going to end up using them together. I thought they were really beautiful individually, and I got a usable quantity to use them individually, but that they could be paired together for something really special too. So I have 8 yards of the purple and I have 5 yards of the lace, and I love them both a lot. I got another silk taffeta for Chic Fabrics. This one is black and gold stripes, and I am such a sucker for striped silks. I've got a few in my stash. They just make me think of Renaissance dresses, specifically Renaissance dresses from the Borgias, which is one of my favorite TV shows for costumes, and it makes me want to make all of the Renaissance dresses. I haven't made one in a long time, but Italian Renaissance dresses and the costumes from the Borgias is actually what got me into historical sewing in the first place. So whenever I see a dress that reminds me of that, it just brings back really fond memories of when I first started sewing. So I tend to get kind of nostalgic and very easily tempted into buying those fabrics, and that was definitely the situation here. So I bought 8 yards of this, and I did that because I wanted to have enough to play with the placement of the stripes. So me, it's going to have very full sleeves with vertical stripes, and then heavily banded details down the arms, which are all horizontally striped. And then the skirt is going to have stripes at the hem that alternate between being diagonal and horizontal. So I want to create a lot of dimension and a really elaborate looking dress while only using one material for the whole thing. So that was my idea with this, and I'm really, really excited to make that happen. And again, that's something that I would definitely consider filming if you guys are interested in seeing it. Even though I bought this fabric with the intention of it being a standalone material for a standalone dress, I ended up finding this later in the trip, and I just thought they looked beautiful together. Like, so beautiful that I couldn't resist buying it. I think I might make a very not historically accurate shift out of this that you could just see peeking out of the neckline of the other dress. And I think that would really be fantastical and wonderful. So I bought 3 yards of it, and that's my plan. And this is a silk And it feels like a cotton or linen. It doesn't feel stiff at all. It's got a really nice drape to it actually. And it has alternating colors of thread in it, which is what gives it that sheeny effect. This was from the same store and has a very similar weight to it. It feels less silky, but it is a silk base, and it feels almost like a linen, so it's a very sturdy feeling fabric, but I really like the texture of this. Once again, it has metallic threads, so it has a bit of a sheen to it, but it also looks like a very plain fabric, like something that a lower class citizen might have worn. So I thought this could be fun for something medieval, and I could either dress it up and use a lot of shiny trims with it, or I could keep it very simple and just do a basic kirtle out of it. Or maybe even I could use this for a menswear inspired project into a doublet and a pair of puffy pants. I've wanted to do that for a really long time, and I bought 6 yards of it, so I should have enough to do something like that. And I actually have some gray wools in my collection that I could use for an overcoat. So this is just one of those fabrics I bought because I liked it and I saw lots of options for it, even though I haven't settled on a particular one just yet. I'd love to know your thoughts on what I bought. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? What you would do with these materials? Or even what you've purchased most recently. I'm always curious to know. Do you guys want to say goodbye? Oh, I have to catch you first. I have to catch you first. Oh, I have to catch you first. Do you want to say goodbye? Do you want to say goodbye? You have to look at the camera. You're not gonna look at the camera? I just wanted to hop on at the end here and say goodbye as well. Yes. Oh, does eyeshadow taste good? I'm so glad. That makes me really happy.